Okay, hello. Happy Friday. I am so excited to see you today. So it's cold and rainy here today, and I decided to make myself a hot chocolate in this beautiful mug that was made for me by my good friend Angelique. And it's like the ultimate comfort food, warm and sweet and wonderful. Like hot chocolate is a perfect opportunity for me to choose happiness. Woo! With every sip, I can revel in the spark of joy that it brings me and grow my spark and breathe it into my body. And in doing that, I am strengthening my neural pathways for positivity. Oh, so good. Okay, I hope you had an amazing week uncovering and busting through what is holding you back from living your best life. I am pumped to be here today. And living your best life is going to mean something maybe completely different to each of us. So after this week, do you have a better idea of what it might mean for you? Like your best life is living in alignment with what truly matters to you. And on Tuesday, your homework was to uncover what truly matters. And here are some of the things you said. Hi, Charlotte. Thank you. What truly matters is being happy. This is from your homework. What truly matters is that my family is happy. What truly matters is having an authentic and honest relationship with my partner. What truly matters is that I have my own personal quiet time so that I can recover from my day and have more energy and patience in my home life. What truly matters is honesty and true connection. What truly matters is that I can see my own value. What truly matters is that I am present with my family. What truly matters is not having to veil myself with others. And what truly matters is that I am at peace with who I am. Now, I have emotion and shivers reading this. This is what you came up with in your homework. And it's just beautiful. And nowhere in there do I see what really matters is what other people think of me, or that I am better than them, or that I am rich or famous or perfect. For so many years, and especially since social media came into my life, I have been looking at other people's lives from the outside in. And I'm going to admit that there were times that I was longing for their life. I would drive by a beautiful home and I would think, I could just live in a beautiful home like that. Then I would be happy. Then I would be living my dream life. I would see other people traveling the world and I would think, if only I could afford to take my family on these kind of trips. Like one of my colleagues took her two kids on a year-long around the world sailing adventure. And I thought to myself, how lucky she was to have kids who were portable like that, who fit into her dream for her life. I couldn't even take a trip to the grocery store without my kids freaking out. It took every ounce of my power to make it through the cash without crying. And so I would look into other people's lives and I would think that that's what would make me happy. Their life would make me happy. I would see other people relaxing and I would wonder how they did it. Like I couldn't even pee by myself at that point in my life. I was rushing everywhere. I was always trying to catch up and there was no room to even think about stopping. I was stuck. And it felt like I must be doing something wrong, but I had no idea what it was. Like I was doing everything right. I had the job and I bought a house and I had the husband and the kids. I was supposed to be living happily ever after, but I was stuck in this place of envy and longing and maybe a little bit of self-pity. And I was working my ass off to get out of it, but I was getting nowhere. And if you asked me at that time in my life what my best life looked like, I probably wouldn't even have been able to answer, other than less rushing, and more enjoying. Now, my definition of best life includes time in nature, space to reflect, a creative outlet, keeping in touch with myself, nurturing my relationship with myself. Like, that's been an interesting journey, learning how to do that, like how to even have a relationship with myself. And my best life includes having wonderful friends and a wonderful partner who accept me exactly as I am. And so I'm going to admit that every single one of you is smarter than me when it comes to knowing what you want in life, because you have put it down in writing what your best life looks like, what truly matters to you. And knowing what we want is great. But how do we get it? How do we make the shift from feeling stuck and overwhelmed to having all of those things that we just listed? So today, I'm going to show you my ultimate blueprint for living your best life so that you can shed your BS, live happier, and finally find that happily ever after that you have worked so hard for. And it all starts with getting out of your own way. All right, I'm going to share my screen real quick because I want you to see what I'm talking about here. All right. So we are here in the workbook today, and we're going to go through this 5-step blueprint. And the first step is to uncover the old programming that you are still carrying with you from your childhood and adolescence. This old programming is driving your behavior today. And while some of it might be helpful, most of it is not helping you to achieve the definition of your best life that you have just created for yourself. Okay, so let me give you an example. When I was young, I was loud and opinionated and maybe a little bossy. Probably doesn't surprise anybody here. Maybe I was a lot bossy, and I received messages that maybe that wasn't the best way to be. My mom would tell me not to question her authority, not to talk back, not to be so loud. My friends would not want to play with me because I would want to take over their game, or their parents would not want me to come over because I was loud and what one of my friends called thumpy because I would jump around a lot. My teachers would try to squeeze me into conforming with whatever the norms of the classroom and letting other people lead and answer questions. And all of this came together and created programming. And on top of that, I moved a lot as a kid. This is my 19th house that I'm living in. And so I had to figure out how to fit in. And my mind figured out that the best way to do that was to suppress my boisterous personality, to just shut up and to conform and to dress like everyone else and act like everyone else and be quiet and polite and unobtrusive. And I grew into my 20s and had boyfriends that walked all over me. And I would say yes to things that I wanted to scream no to. I was passive aggressive with the people closest to me because every day was a war inside of me. My old programming was battling my natural inclination to speak up and let my opinions out, let my weirdness shine. So I would say, for example, yes to installing the counters that my husband wanted, and then constantly complain that I didn't like them. I would loudly and aggressively clean up after everyone instead of just speaking up and asking for help. I would apologize when other people treated me like garbage. And then later I would lie awake at night thinking of all the things that I should have said in that situation. These programs created a big gap between who I really am and who my mind told me that I had to be in order to stay safe. And so do you remember from Monday, that gap created dissonance, an internal conflict that puts you at war with yourself and makes it hard to make decisions, hard to form relationships, and really hard to love yourself. And so on Monday, we uncovered some of our old programming in two key areas of your life. And here are some of the programs that you uncovered on Monday, taken from your homework. It's only acceptable to parent one way. My kids will only succeed if they have an amazing childhood. I am only a good homeowner if my house is spotless at all times. In order to be a good employee, I have to put work first. I need to know all the research, theories, and knowledge about child development in order to be the best parent. I need to be ambitious and an overachiever in order to be worthy of my job. I need to surpass expectations before I can consider new opportunities. I cannot be too emotional. I should be more quiet. I need to put others first if I want them to respect me. Those are tough programs. They feel heavy on me and they're not even my programs. Okay, so before we move on, I need to give out the prize for completing all 4 days of homework. Woohoo! There were only 2 of you who did that, Susan and Jen. And Jen, you have already won this prize. So I am giving out your own set of affirmator cards to Susan Merpa. Congratulations, Susan. I will be in touch so that I can get these to you. Okay, so how did it feel to uncover these hidden messages that are running your life? Uncovering them allows us to examine them and see them for what they really are. Without this work, I would never have realized that my passive aggressiveness came from programs that told me it is not safe to share my opinions, and that people will not like me unless I go along with what they say and what they want. Programs that tell me I should honor their wants and needs above my own, and not just like a little bit above my own, like miles above my own. Like I should never have needs and wants of my own at all. I just need to be quiet and useful and unobtrusive. But since I uncovered these programs, then I realized that I get to decide. Do I want to keep running that program? Maybe I do and maybe I don't, but how do I know? How do I know if maybe I want to keep helping everyone else and never saying no because I want to be a nice person, right? So that's where step 2 comes in. Step 2 is to uncover your true self by figuring out what really matters to you. And we did that on both Monday and Tuesday by letting ourselves wish. Do you remember? Your wishes come from a deeper part of you, the part of you that dreams, the part of you that yearns. In the mind, body, soul philosophy, your programs come from your mind and your wishes come from your soul. And letting yourself wish can be hard. Like how many of you experienced this? As soon as your wish formed, your mind jumped in and shut it down. Oh, you wish you could only work 4 hours a day? Well, that's stupid. That's impossible. Let me give you a list of reasons why that will never happen. Anyone? Our mind feels very uncomfortable with the wishes of the soul. So let's just paint this a picture in the real world, okay? Think about being at work and maybe you have, oh, I got another person coming in. Maybe you have spent some time researching the best course of action for some project that you are working on. And you use this research to make a plan, and you feel good about this plan, and you've been executing this plan successfully for a while now. And then along comes your airy-fairy coworker who thinks it should be done different simply because it feels better. All that research, all that analysis, you have carefully plotted out your course of action, and this person wants to ignore the research in favor of what feels right. So your mind is the researcher. Your programs are the result of that research. And it's true that the programs are never wrong. They served you at one point in your life. They kept you safe at one point in your life. But now you are at a new point in your life. You are not in middle school anymore. And your soul, that airy-fairy coworker, is screaming at you to listen, to close the gap between your program self and your true self. And so step 2 is to learn how to listen. Step 2 is where we tap into our soul and we start defining what our best life looks like. We get very clear on what matters most and how we want each day to look. And this becomes our destination. A floating island that was once impossible to see now becomes clear. And we use that clarity to define our values, and these become our anchors. We use our values to anchor into the place we are now and the place we want to be, that best life destination, that floating island that is suddenly visible. And with our anchors in place, we are ready for step 3. So step 3 is to get connected with ourselves, to toss a rope from our programmed island over to our best life destination island so that we can start building our bridge. This step is where we get to know ourselves and have our internal compass, or get familiar with how our internal compass works so that we can actually follow the wisdom within. This is where we start befriending our feelings. Now, we did not dig into this week because for very many of us, this is a raw and complicated journey. We have been stuffing our feelings down for so long, and we are holding them so tight that every part of us is resistant to this process. Because of our old programming, our mind often thinks of emotions as a threat. And therefore, emotions will trigger our fight, flight, or freeze response, making us desperately want to avoid this scary subject altogether. And we don't want that. It's not going to work if we run or freeze or avoid. And this is so critical because suppressed emotions and trauma have devastating consequences for our body. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk demonstrates case after case in his book, The Body Keeps the Score, which I highly recommend. He demonstrates over and over again examples of patients who have healed their cancer and healed autoimmune disorders just by dealing with their suppressed feelings. There is an undeniable link between emotional trauma and emotional suppression with health conditions such as multiple sclerosis, heart disease, ulcers, chronic pain, hair loss, cancers, and gastrointestinal issues like IBS. And those are the physical symptoms. There's also the mental symptoms like depression. Now, my mom died at age 58 after suffering for years with an autoimmune disorder and finally developing cancer. And I will never be able to prove that it was linked to suppressed emotion, but I know she had a rough childhood and she had to hold it together every single day, raising 4 kids on her own and going through 3 divorces. And I wish that she had worked on herself, because if she had, maybe she would still be alive today. And maybe I wouldn't have the programming that I had that made me so miserable for so very long. The programming that told me that I had to suppress all of my feelings just like her and plow through just like her and be stoic and powerful just like her. Learning how to handle your emotions in a healthy way is a critical skill to bring with you into your best life. Also, this is probably the hardest part of building your bridge, definitely the most dreaded part, but it's also the most transformative. And so I have broken it down in the least scary way possible, starting with just accepting and then noticing our emotions. We practice viewing that from a curious and impartial lens as we complete our Mentio activities that will calm your nervous system and guide you through the mind-body-soul connection relating specifically to your emotions. So at the same time as you are reprogramming your mind BS, you are also rewiring your nervous system so that this work becomes so much less scary and so much more possible, so that your body can relax and your soul can be heard and emotions can be accepted as the messages that they are. Anger, for example, is usually telling you that you care about something. You are angry because you care about what is happening around you. Maybe you care about some person being hurt, or maybe it's you. Maybe you care about you because you don't deserve to be treated that way. Anger is a beautiful and powerful message and a catalyst for change. Like, I made this program because I was angry that it didn't exist, angry that I couldn't find a clear path out of the abyss that I was in when I was ready to do the dang work. Okay, and rent. So once we have learned to listen to the wisdom within and to trust that it will always steer us in the right direction, we are ready for step 4. And step 4 is to build our badass mindset so that we can start taking back our power. Plank by plank, on the rope of our connection with ourselves, anchored by our values, we start working ourselves closer and closer to our true selves and to our best life. So we touched on one way to take back our power on Wednesday, where we learned to make empowered choices by changing our shoulds to coulds. This is the space where we actually start taking actions that will bring us closer to our true selves. This is where we learn courageous communication so that we can say no with confidence. And if that excites you, saying no with confidence, you may be interested in tuning into our Self-Care Sunday chat this Sunday at 11, where I'm going to teach you how to say yes, but really you're saying no. Okay, so do you remember Jackie? We talked about Jackie on Monday. Jackie was a people pleaser. Her programming around making others like her by bending over backwards for them was so strong that she couldn't even remember the last time she told someone no. If she wanted to say no, she would go into what I call cowering communication, because her programming told her it was unsafe. It would sound like, well, I'm running around doing all of these things today. Here's a list of things that I'm doing, and I don't really have time to do that, but if you really need me to, I will. Which unfortunately left the door wide open for people to walk all over her. If a request was physically impossible, she would go into a long explanation about why it was impossible and apologize over and over again. And she carried so much guilt around this. Like, she was taking everyone else's problems and putting them right on her own shoulders. Like, our own problems are heavy enough. Carrying someone else's problems is just not feasible. And so she had to practice her courageous communication. Okay, tell me no in one sentence, Jackie. Well, you see, no, try again. Until finally she was able to communicate clearly with her family. Sorry, Mom, but I am not able to help you with that. No, son, I can't go pick up your friend tonight. And once she was able to do that, she was able to start setting effective value-based boundaries using the value framework that I showed you on Wednesday to start getting very strategic with her energy. She learned how to let go of the thought that she must solve all of the problems for all of the people in her life. Because the truth was that they are perfectly capable of solving their own problems. And that by stepping back, she was actually empowering them to do just that. And so that brings us to the final step, the last piece of the puzzle, which is getting comfortable. This is the part where you develop techniques and mindset to help prevent you from sliding back into old habits and letting your old programming take over again. In this step, you redefine who you are and what you stand for so that you can remind your old programming of that as often as possible. You learn how to take an objective look at a situation and know what parts of it might trip you up, because you start to see where the programming is coming in, where the programming is trying to run the show. And you learn, using your techniques, how to take back control. And then finally, at the very end, you make an action plan for your new life. Tiny habits to stay with you and keep you on track as you get on with your life. So your blueprint in 5 steps is to, number 1, get real about where you are today, how you got there, and what's keeping you stuck. Number 2 is to get clear on where you want to go. What does your best life look like? And what do you personally really care about? Okay, step 1, step 2. Step 3 is to get connected. Use your values as steady, solid anchor posts to allow you to connect both sides of this equation. And then learn how to use your internal compass to show you the way. This is the rope that links the 2 sides together. But rope alone doesn't make a steady bridge. And so in order to get moving, which is step 4, across our bridge, we need to add some solid planks. These are our boundaries. This is what allows us to actually take steps towards where our internal compass is guiding us. And finally, once you've crossed over to the other side, the last and 5th step is to get settled. Continue on with the strategies and mindset shifts that will keep you from slipping back into your old habits, that will keep your old programs from taking over as you work to create new ones that are much more helpful in your life today. And all of this is underpinned by your Mentio exercises. As you make these mind shifts and take these bold and sometimes scary actions, you're going to need to continuously keep in touch with yourself and your nervous system. I showed you some basic Mentio exercises yesterday that we use to get started making these shifts. And these exercises get deeper and deeper to support you in your progress each step of the way. And the best part of this blueprint is that you can use it over and over again, because there will come a time when you can envision a truer and more beautiful life for yourself. Your new starting point becomes this best life that you had envisioned a while ago. And now you are envisioning a new best life, a new floating island separate from where you are. And that is so great, because now you are a bridge builder. You now have the tools to build yourself a bridge. You can just follow them step by step again, tap into your inner wisdom, and step boldly into your new vision for yourself and your life over and over again as you grow. So now, when I was on my journey, I was obsessed with learning all of the information about self-help. I experienced the genius of Brené Brown. Anybody read any Brene Brown stuff? Oh my goodness. I was so moved by her book, Daring Greatly, that I wanted to get a tattoo across my arm to remind me to dare greatly every day that I could see in the mirror when I was doing my hair. Never did get it. But what I really wanted was someone to talk to share my passion with and my enthusiasm with, who understood what was happening inside of me. I wanted to talk about the mind shifts that were happening to help me process the information and see if it was landing with anyone else. I was so moved by Glennon Doyle's authenticity. Anybody know Glennon Doyle? Oh my goodness. And I myself wanted to become more authentic. But when I started sharing bits of myself with the people in my life at that time, I was finding that it kind of scared them away, and it actually ended up creating more distance with my friends. And now that I think about it, looking back, maybe they thought, their old programming made them think it was weird, or maybe it was hitting a vulnerable spot within them that they weren't ready to explore. And I found that after a while, that the friends that my programmed self had made were also highly programmed. And when I started moving closer to my true self, it's kind of like we had less and less in common. And that was beautiful because it actually allowed me to find friends that I could make a true connection with. And it changed all of my relationships so much more for the better. And having a group of people who were on the same journey, experiencing similar mind shifts, similar personal revelations and emotions and challenges would have been a dream for me. It would have fast-tracked my progress for sure. And so it's my fantasy to create a community of people who are all working on building their bridges to their best life, so that we can support each other through the hard times and celebrate each other through the breakthroughs, so that we can practice our authenticity together in a space where we can bravely show up as our hot, messy selves, where we do not apologize for emotions and where we celebrate vulnerability as the strength it truly is, because it is a lot easier to stuff it down than it is to let it out. It's my fantasy that as this community grows, we start adding to it. I want to have a book club where we can explore the best of the transformative reads together. I want to bring in experts in different areas to share new techniques or ideas that we can all use as we keep growing. And it's my fantasy that we can all stay together long after we have built our first bridge, because this is a lifelong journey that we are embarking on. It does not end with when the last homework is complete. Okay, so I know all of you are wondering, okay, Christina, this all sounds great, but how much does this program cost? And we have so much programming around money, like so much programming about us being unworthy to spend money on. I know for me, I do not hesitate to spend money on my kids, but rarely will I spend money on myself. They buy their clothes at Under Armour and I buy mine at Value Village. And if someone else spends money on me, I get very uncomfortable. Like, my in-laws are the most wonderful people that I have ever met, and they buy me Christmas presents. And it makes me feel so guilty. So do you remember how we talked about the best way to reprogram ourselves is to do the thing that will move us closer to our true selves and then attach a positive emotion to it? So if you buy something for yourself, the best way to solidify that program is to feel damn good about it. Feel proud of it every time you think about it, instead of guilty or scared. And so when I add up the 6 months of videos, plus the live group coaching, plus the extensive workbook, plus the Mentio activities in a traditional coaching program, it would be over $5,000, which is less than $1,000 a month. And most coaches charge between $1,500 and $2,500 a month, some way more. So $1,000 a month is already a steal. And I'd be curious, how much would you think is reasonable for a course that contains the learning that I shared with you this week? If I was to package it up and create like a mini program that showed you how to fill the cracks in your energy cup, get picky about where you're pouring your energy, and how to fill your cup back up, what would you pay for it? What would you expect it to be like? You feel uncomfortable yet? Yes, we're talking about money. It's very uncomfortable to our old programming. It's so funny how much old programming we have about money. And what I showed you this week just scratches the surface of the 6-month program. Michelle says you'd pay $5,000 for this free week. Booyah, Michelle. Sweet. Okay, so I will get to it. Bridge to Your Best Life is just $297 a month for 6 months. And if you pay in full, you get a month free. And that is including tax, and it's in Canadian dollars. And on top of that, you also get an extra 3 months free to make sure that you have the time to get through all of the learning. So you get 9 months of access to the videos, 9 months of coaching, and 9 months of community to make sure that you get to move to the other side and really get settled into your new life. And as the community gets built, because I'm just starting to build it now, that price is obviously going to go up. So getting in now means that you are going to get the lowest price ever, and also means that you get to have our bonus session, which is going to run this Tuesday evening, where we develop a custom Mentio strategy for you based on your personal old programming. And this is not part of the course. So you don't want to miss out on this opportunity to tailor your nervous system resets to exactly what your mind has programmed to be most effective. You can use this throughout the course with all of the Mentio exercises, and especially as they get more complicated, so you know exactly how to skyrocket your personal progress and performance. Now, one of the most amazing things about working on yourself is the unexpected impact that it has in other areas of your life. So, for example, Jackie was so surprised at how the changes she made within herself impacted her relationship with her kids. She found that her programmed self was a very different parent than her open and authentic self. And this allowed her to approach the natural conflicts with her teenagers differently. And it opened up a space for her kids to be authentic too. And she told me that she wished she had done this work earlier, because one of her kids had just graduated high school, and she thought of how different the last few years with him might have been if she had started this work 5 years ago. So James used to believe that he had to have just one type of job because that is where he had built his expertise. And he believed that no one would even consider hiring him for anything different. So he had no choice. He could not branch out. He was stuck there. But doing this work gave him the courage to apply to jobs that deviated from his current expertise and to show up authentically and confidently for the interviews. No more self-deprecating remarks, just courageous communication, highlighting his goals and how his current expertise could support that. Another Bridge to Your Best Life participant is a high-level manager who is struggling to support his stressed out team. And he came to the program looking for ways to balance his demanding job with his family and his many other responsibilities. And he was amazed at how this work helped him to support his staff, to have real conversations that created bonds and trusts with his team. His old programming had told him that in order to be respected as a manager, he needed to know everything and never show stress or vulnerability. But in doing this work, he was able to say to his team, hey, I'm having a hard time, are you too? And that opened up a whole world of opportunities to collaborate better together and be stronger as a team. His vulnerability made him a better manager and a more respected leader. This is new programming that is serving him now as a grown-up in his current reality because he has chosen to throw out that old programming and make new ones that move him forward towards his best life. And so as we sign off for today, I want to say that I am in awe of how many of you showed up for yourselves this week. You came to the presentations, you watched the replays, you did the homework, and you started stepping bravely into your best life. So if you have any questions about what we covered this week, you want to dive deeper into any of the things that we looked at, or if you want to learn how the Bridge to Your Best Life program might help move you forward, please feel free to book a call with me. Your growth and this topic is my absolute favorite subject. You know how I feel about talking about this stuff with like-minded people. I just ranted about it for 30 minutes. And I would love to have more chats with you about how you can continue to grow, whether that's in my program or outside of my program, and how I can continue to serve you. The link to book a call is on your dashboard and also in the header of this group. I'd also love to hear if you have any ideas for what you'd like to learn in future events like this one. Let me know. I'm so curious. What do you think would move you forward? I focused on energy this week because that's what I heard everybody wanted, just more energy. But I would love to be able to offer you more resources as you move into the life that you deserve. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for showing up this week. Our community, my dream, has already started right here in this group. It fills me with joy. I hope that you get a lot out of it too. And I hope that you have a wonderful weekend. And remember, if you take nothing else from this week, you get to choose. You run the show and not your old programming. High five, my friend. See you soon.